techniques were posted for free on the website, and hopefully, I think the word had been out that it was required to begin using those if you could get them before you came to this workshop, because I would need twice as much time in France to take you all the way through those programs again to get you to the point where it would make sense. What we talk about here would make sense. Now, I'm aware that some people might not have been able to get to the internet to get those, and that's all right, because what we're going to do is the beginning of this afternoon. We're going to do a crash course in running you through just an overview of everything from the what we call the Stairway to Heaven, which is the connecting links between the echo maps of the God world gates, which are the universal and higher level stargates that connect our stargates, all the way up to astral body, shadow body, radio body anatomy, saying you know enough of that to know what your Eros flame body is and your Amaretti flame body is, so we can get through, hopefully by the end of today, one run. And this is for amplification for people who've done it before, and it's for introduction because you have to do it at least once for later activations to work. To go through what are called techniques 1 through technique 7. We're going to try to get through at least to technique 6 today. Now, a couple of them are long, but they're ones you technically only have to do once in a lifetime. If you've done them in either Phoenix, we did them in Bermuda, Phoenix, and Allentown. So if you've been a part of those workshops, it means you've already run them once, 1 through 7. So you don't have to do it again because you already have the activations, but it's suggested that you do sit through them again. Even if you fall asleep, you still have the activation because it will amplify your fields. Because tomorrow morning we are going to do, regardless of if your persons have just started or if they have been doing the earlier flame activations, we are going to go from technique 8 to technique 14. So it's the first time they have been run actively with the group. Now, there's a reason why, usually, techniques 1 through 7 in flame body activation and shadow healing, you have to do them for 4 to 6 weeks before you can even, you can run technique 8, but it will do nothing if you don't have 4 to 6 weeks of building activation on 1 through 7. However, because we are here at a very special time, it's a time during which what is called a gold wave infusion is beginning, and the opening of universal and planetary Stargate 12 is occurring. There is sufficient frequency in the grids during this trip with the group who some of you have already been working with these activations. People who are just starting will be able to sustain a level 8 and higher activation while you are here and while you are with the group. That will shut down when you go home if you haven't been working with the other things for 4 to 6 weeks, but it will build until you won't lose it. It'll just shut off once you leave the group supported frequency. And then it will come back in 4 to 6 weeks where you will sustain that activation. So it's like getting a little preview of frequency running through your DNA and your shields while you're with the group, because group energy amplifies the energies of each individual that's part of the group. And because we're here on gold wave infusion time, we are going to get a gift from the planetary shields themselves that will help us sustain much higher level activations. Now, slow down. They're introducing what are called the Scepter codes. Now, if you've been following the Dance for Love and Dance for Life, Life and Love program, we dealt with VECA codes, which were the first level activations of the shields. We dealt with some of the ECHA codes. We did the Accasha, for example. That is ECHA code number 3. We are now going to get ECHA code number 12, which is the Rihanna, and we are going up to the next level, which are the Scepter codes. These are the codes that begin opening the frequencies into your shields from what's called the Accasha Aya level. So we're not just opening Akasha codes, we're going up to the next level. This is an amplification series. We're going to be shown how to use these in very specialized ways in the second big workshop. But there's a lot to cover before we get to the second big workshop. This is when we begin to understand more about the flame body. People say, oh, well, that's light body teachings, right? No. I hate to tell you, it's not. Light body would be the first bodies. The dimensionalized hoover bodies are the light bodies. Dimension 1 through 15. You have the light bodies, the sound bodies, the crystal bodies. Then you have the Eros flame body. Then you have the Amareya flame body level 1. That's as far as we've got in the teachings, even in the supplement. Now there's a whole structure of bodies beyond that. It's the expansion of the flame body up into what is called, if I can pronounce it, the Eucharistista body. Now the word Eucharist was taken out of that. It is much more than the Christ body spelled with a CH. It's beyond even what's called the Christ body, spelled with a K-R-I-S-T, which is talking about the Accasha A, highest God world frequency connection. And frequency, remember, is consciousness as well, parts of your consciousness there. We're going to learn about what that whole structure is, where we are in the beginning of opening the flame bodies, the eternal flame bodies, and what the process is between Dance for Freedom and Dance for Joy, which is the final part of this course series. We will be given the code sequences that activate the frequencies in our personal shields and our DNA that allow the progressive inflow of us becoming the full eternal flame body up to the Eucharist level. Yeah, it's hard to pronounce. So there's this information on the expanded flame bodies is all new. That was given since we've got on the grids here. Now in France, in Montségur area, there's a lot of information stored here specifically because it's planetary Stargate 12. Now Stargate 11 would have almost as much information stored at it, but 12 would have the highest level of information that's stored in the planetary grids. So we literally had to come here and have our shields stimulated by the coding before we could open in our DNA the channels that would allow that information to run to come to you. So it's being given progressively, and as we did it, we will share it with you. Now, I could talk about what we're going to do for quite a while, but what's more important is, I think I've probably set the impossible goal, as we often do. We often meet them, which is kind of nice. We would like to get everybody up to the point where, now again, if you've done these activations, you will amplify if you do them again, and if you haven't done them, you need them to be able to participate in what comes after. If we could possibly get through techniques 1 through 7, in the supplement. For those of you who are at Phoenix or at Allentown, you can go how long some of these are. Now, you don't have to. I'll say it again. If you've been working with them, in addition to the workshops you've attended, that means you've been amplifying. All right? You don't have to participate in that part, or you can sit there and sleep and absorb it, just get the frequency, because if you fall asleep, you still get it. You're picking it up in the astral level, but it's still going into your system, into your shields, and you're still activating. If we can get from the impossible goal of 1 through 6, and we could start with 7 and 8 in the morning, because 5, 6, and 7 are very long, and when you put them all together, you just want to crawl under your seat and go to sleep and like wake me up when the workshop's over. So we'll try to do 7 and 8, 7 in the morning and then 8. But to get to that point, I do need to go through basic refresher on the diagrams, so we remember what the heck are these flame bodies we're activating. What basically the orientation to it, because there are a few people that have maybe seen them they've seen the activations and the exercises on the website, but they got none of the workshop material in between there. They had all this like, okay, I'll do this. It's supposed to be good for me, but what is a flame body? What does this do? What does it correspond to? So I will try to give that orientation, and there's a few diagrams that when this book is completed, Dance for Freedom, they bring it all into focus. And the diagrams we will go through. Now again, we don't have these books because we didn't want to give you a copy of this as it was handed out before. It will be missing the new material, and it will be a bit changed as far as sequencing, and there'll actually be a table of contents and those kind of things. Once it's all done, it would have been a waste because you need to get the finalized version of it anyway, because there's information that goes with this that's going to be given in the English workshop, and when we put all those together, then the book is done. That's why it's just as easy for us to show you some graphs while we're up here. Know they're available, and they are coming into a solidified book form that you can use. But it will get you to the point where you can understand, even if you can't remember it all, why you're doing these activations, what they're about, and visualize basically what your flame body looks like. And if you can do that, it's almost like the rest is detail. If you can do the most important thing, you can get through the times that we're in the middle of and the times that are moving toward us rapidly and that we're moving toward, in a way that you can hold your spiritual and energetic integrity, in a way that you can watch some of the wild and wacky things that are going to be happening in the world, and watch with the eyes of wisdom and with the strength that comes from knowing. If you watch a political drama, let's say, unfold on the planet or even in a country, it can be very confusing. You hear a bunch of talking heads on television saying this, that, and the other thing, pointing fingers at each other, saying we've got to do this, we've got to do this, trying to rally you to give your energy to support that cause, whatever it is. It can be really, really confusing and intimidating. When countries start talking about war and attacking each other, it can become even more confusing. When one of those countries is the biggest superpower on the planet right now, that decides it's going to go pushing other people around because it doesn't like them, it can be really frightening. So right now there's a political drama unfolding that you can't really blame America for or anybody else, because there's a hidden script that we've talked about before. It's the script of the Armageddon drama that was set in the Atlantean Conspiracy Times during from 25,500 BC forward. Now, if we understand, first of all, that there's a force that's been moving this whole thing along, behind the faces you see talking at you on television and see in the newspapers. First of all, it's useless to blame. A lot of people that don't know, that approach transition and change with the eyes of the sleepers, they get all caught up in the surface level drama. Oh, it's this one's fault, it's that one's fault. And they point fingers at each other, and they point fingers at presidents or prime ministers, and they waste all of their personal energy and their power on getting tied up in the illusion, which renders them completely powerless. So they just pick a side, and they let that side direct their power, because they don't know what else to do with themselves. If we can realize there's a whole script running behind here that was set from 25,500 BC forward, we start to understand not only our present drama, but the history that got us to here, where all of this political chaos, people killing each other, people at war with each other, religions at war with each other, all of this was part of a script that humans didn't create, and they didn't want here, but we've been asleep and we have been unable to do anything about it. Now, as we approach the dramas that are coming our way, that are beginning to manifest in the political arena, it's time to look at things with the eyes of a person waking up. And eventually that person will become the eyes of a master. In the eyes of a master, you can see the God in all things, and the good in all things, even if they appear to be negative when they are taking place in a drama. That doesn't mean that God creates the bad stuff too and wants it there, but it means there's variation. There is the allowance. God allows probabilities of experience to be known. We're in a mass drama right now. The probabilities of experience have to do with the long history of our consciousness in association with this planet and this galaxy and this universe, even though we don't remember what that might be right now in our present state. If we can realize that we are at a perfect moment in time, before we worry about the negative things or bad things might happen or that kind of stuff, don't even use the labels negative and bad. We are at a point of great transition in this universe, this galaxy, and this planet, and in our personal lives. One of the greatest parts of that transition is we get returned to us an ancient gift that was given to us by Source in the beginning, which was the gift of the God-knowing and of being at one with Source at all times, the gift of the flame body knowledge, the eternal flame body. We were the eternal flames. We were the embodiments of the Yukatharista body, which means the body of God made manifest. It is literally the manifestation of that Source which in with everything takes place, manifesting itself in full individuation. We were the sparks, we were the flames. We took it away from ourselves for many, many eons to experience what it meant to be something different. So we could understand the others who had done that needed healing help, that we would have not been competent to help them heal, or to understand what to do for this planet or this universe or this galaxy, if we had walked around with all of our knowledge always open. We found out what it means to struggle. We found out what pain means. We found out what it means to be confused and think God is somewhere else, or feel abandoned, or feel finite. We found out what it feels to think you're going to die and never exist again. Through surrendering back the gift of the eternal flame body and the knowledge that goes with it, we learned how to become master healers. But part of that master healing has to do with, okay, we learned all this stuff, now we have to bring ourselves back to what we were, give ourselves back the gift of the eternal flame body, so we can then walk among the places that need the healing most and be that healing. We're not going to seek healing from outside of ourselves. We are going to create it from inside of ourselves. And that's what it means to activate the eternal flame body. They call it a flame because it's kind of shaped like one. It's also the flame of consciousness, or the spark of God's self that is always present and eternal, that fuels and fires the cosmic fire that allows planets and galaxies and universes to exist, the exact same consciousness force of energy and power and love that allows you to exist. There's a certain level within the Yukatha body that an awareness that there is at no separation whatsoever. There's knowing that intellectually, saying, okay, my mind can accept that, and there's a whole different experience of living it, where your cells, each one of them, know what it means to be a part of everything, and realize that is the only truth. Truth is always with us, around us, inside of us. We are the truth. We just forgot who we were. If we can remember the truth of ourselves, if we find ourselves, we find the truth. And that is the truth that will set us free. Now, Dance for Freedom is the next stage in activation of your personal shields, your personal scalar wave template that holds your consciousness on its many dimensionalized levels and higher in manifest form. This is the stage of freedom, because before we built up in our bodies and in our DNA template and in our shields the ability to hold frequency. We worked hard, a lot of us, to do this. I mean, if anybody from the outside that doesn't study any of this sees us when we're exercising, they think we're actually loons. Because we were in our private rooms making sure nobody's watching, and we're spinning around in circles, and we're doing sorias, and we're doing all these things that are about manually getting your Merkaba fields to work in the right order. So your shields will process frequency in the natural path rather than in the reverse path that right now the planetary grids are primarily running in. What's very nice about the Dance for Freedom, and one of the things we become free from, is the need to continually manually reset externally the spin of our Merkaba. We generate enough frequency with the activations we get in this program where you don't have to, unless you want to, do external salutations with the body. You now have enough momentum by the direction of will and breath and frequency in your body that you can create the same effect that you used to have to stand and spin and tone to do. So we also become more discreet. We are free to appear as if we're just regular people, where we don't. It's funny, like if we ever had a church where, what do you do in your church services? Oh, we stand up and we spin and we do sarias and we tone. Yeah. Now we can just look like, from the outside, average people. We become the silent bearers of the eternal flame. This is the beginning of not having to do 5 million techniques, how many times a week, just to get your shields to hold the activation levels of the earlier codes. With the codes that we learn now, and when we go into Technique 8 and Technique 13 and 14, and then start working with the Scepter codes, we will be able to hold enough frequency to keep our Eros flame body level and our Amare flame body level activated sufficiently that we don't have to run Maharic seal anymore, because it'll hold the Maharic seal up in the field. So it cuts it down to basically 6 short steps that just keeps your flame burning, and all the hard stuff that you had to plod through before, you don't have to do anymore. So it's freedom to begin exploring what the path of joy will become. Freedom is an interesting concept, and I'm sure there's going to be pieces of this workshop that pop up spontaneously where we talk about freedom. What is it? There's freedom to do certain things or be certain things. There's also freedom from certain things. There may be an exercise, if there's time, where we make a list. What are the things you'd like to be free to do or be or experience, and what are the things you'd like to be free from? And then you can match them up, because they will go together. If you are free to do this, it means you are free from this. To be free from this means you need to be free to do this. If we start to understand the role that our conscious mind plays in whether we experience our hologram in freedom or in chains, we start to look into what are called linguistic template reprogramming grids, where we start taking conscious responsibility for the word choices we use when we represent anything to ourselves. We'll be getting a couple of templates to use, word templates, linguistic template reprogramming grids to use that will assist us in the beginnings of the process. There's one that's not given yet. In fact, for those who've had the books before, we're making an adjustment on the numbering of the techniques. Was kind of funny because they came out of the Bermuda workshops. There was it looked like a couple were missing, but they actually weren't. There are 3 linguistic template reprogramming grids that are being inserted instead of what was called the nodes test. All right, the witness test. Right, that will be still be considered something that will be part of the final text of this, but it's not going to be considered technique. There's going to be 3 grids to use. These are how to literally use your mouth, or at least your mind, in audio things, using language, whatever your home language is, to tell yourself what you want to create yourself to be, and your shields will listen. You are programming your shields. We need to learn to spot blind spots. Ever since we were small, the world has been telling us things from the outside, be it our parents, be it our school systems, our work or employment environments, the political environment of our country. People from different countries have been told a lot of different programs. You know, certain people have been taught that their individuality is totally worthless and their only value is in their national country identity. They're raised to be little soldiers, if need be. Their own spirit and their own expression of God in those type of countries is being completely thrown out the window as if it was worthless. That is where their power lives. So they're throwing the power out the window. People, particularly groups of people that are under a government that has those types of mind control devices. And I tell you, America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, they're not exempt. When you are stuck in that, and you're raised in that, your parents are like that, your neighbors are like that, you honestly feel it because you don't remember anything. If your personal memory of who you were before you came into this life is shut off, all you know is the feedback that the external universe seems to be giving you. If you're told you're worthless unless you do this, and you accept that belief, you actually feel and experience that reality. You are taught that you're lowly and pathetic, and your only value is to how someone else can use you. That ends up getting projected into your own concept or feeling of what God is and how the universe works. That is how to create the feeling, the experiential reality of a not free, painful, traumatized universe. Many people believe that is actually how the universe is. The universe is unfair. It's unbalanced. It's just chaos. Survival of the fittest is the only thing that matters. So surviving and taking a joyride whenever you can, because once it's done, you're gone, and nothing mattered. These are the programs we're being fed on this planet. It seems like they might be universal, because on this planet, everybody seems to reflect them. But if we can realize this planet is one tiny little place that has been quarantined, literally cordoned off from a whole life field of many, many universes that do have intelligent beings in them, simply because this has become a prison planet. It is as if on a planetary level, we were being raised under mind control that taught us to throw out our own creative power and our own personal connection to Source and our own true power of spirit in order to become worker drones. Now it's time to reclaim the power that is ours. And that power, there's slow ways to our personal power and faster ways to our personal power. The courses that we're being given now would usually be given over many, many years. We'd spend, let's say, 12 years on Dance for Life and all the little nuances of each little piece of information in that. Because every page in any of these manuals, you could write a book on just the information that was touched on that page. There are huge volumes of information between the pages of what we're able to bring now. Right now, we're on the crash course. There are events happening on a universal, galactic, and planetary level that we're not going to be around to get to the rest of the activations and the knowledge if we don't get the crash course now, where we can make a difference. And that's what we're doing. So if anybody seems lost as you go through some of these, where you just kind of feel like, you know, information overload, where you just can't hold anymore, and whatever you remembered 3 weeks ago, because you just learned a new piece, seemed to blow it right out of your head, where you couldn't remember, you know, stage 1, 2, and 3, because you were trying to remember stage 4 to 5, and then you finally go back and remember 1, 2, and 3, and you forgot 4 and 5 again. We're trying to train our cellular memory and our body cells to be able to hold the amount of frequency that that information contains. Once you awaken it in you, you have it. That doesn't mean you'll be able to spout it out at will whenever you want it. Like, what was that activation called? Don't worry about that when that happens. Once it's activated in you, it's yours again. It's yours to begin with. All of the things, all of the material that you can get in a workshop like this, or even in all of the volumes of the Maharata text, is encoded right within you, in your DNA and in your shields. The trick is to remember it's there and remember how the heck to get it to wake up and talk to you so you can get it back. So we're just the remembering team. We help you to remember what was yours and to bring it to you as quickly as possible so you can get free as quickly as possible. Now, because the techniques 1 through 7 take so long, and because there's a bit of information that I will move through quickly with the diagrams to at least give the people who are still a little sketchy on how all those pieces fit the basic orientation. And I will probably go through quick. This is going to be, I mean, there's quick and then there's like faster than the speed of light kind of thing. I've watched myself move into both. This group, most people, the resonance or the frequency resonance of this group is quite high, which means if I go through it really fast, most of the group, if you picture like lines of light, oh yeah, they got that. They make a huge bridge of frequency where the whole group is literally holding the full understanding of all of it. So the people who are just coming in and a little bit shaky, they'll be able to pick up just from the group energy a lot of the stuff that, she said that so fast I don't remember what it was at all. So don't worry if you get a little bit lost on a certain step or whatever. If I feel enough of you getting lost on anything that we say, we will spend more time on it. Just because that means the whole group field is kind of going, oh, we hit a glitch there. Yeah, that was the part that we kind of pushed over here that we didn't remember last time and we still don't get it. Right? So I will go through the charts that are in what was called the supplement that will become the Dance for Freedom text at a decent speed. Mainly, so when we get to the flame bodies, you remember what the flame body looks like, what it is, and this is the purpose for doing the exercises. So it helps your 3D egotistical mind to understand why it's doing something. Because if we just say, here, do these exercises, by the time you're on like technique 5 and you start to realize how long some of these are, you say, oh, I'm going to go out and just check out friends. I'm like, and I'll be back and we're doing something exciting, right? Because this is work. Some of this is work. These techniques were some of the toughest as far as attention span goes. In the old days, they used to teach you spiritual development. The first key element, being able to quiet the mind and focus. And we would have to literally be able to focus for 48 or more hours on one, say, symbol or one phrase and not let our minds get distracted. Why? Because we were learning to be like a laser beam, where we had full control of the flow and the focus of our consciousness, where this part wasn't going, I'm bored, I'm going over here, I'm going to project outside, because you fragment yourself when that happens. Just like when you're trying to concentrate on something in school or at work that you really don't want to do, where most of you roams and you leave like just a little bit of level of attention here to get you through so you can get done. Now, we don't have to, fortunately. The crash course has its advantages in the fact that we don't have to for 48 hours stare at a symbol and train our minds to hold that focus. It's useful to play with that because it will strengthen your ability to point anything. If you want to manifest something and your mind is used to letting itself fragment, you will have a very weak, mediocre manifestation. If you want to activate your flame body and make it strong, and the other part's thinking of the grocery list, the other part's thinking about what you're going to do 6 weeks from now, the other part's worrying about what you did 6 years ago, your activation is not going to be as strong as if you're fully focused in the moment, right now, right here, with what you're doing. So with some of these exercises, when we move into them, remember you don't have to do them more than once. It's worth trying, just to see. Maybe you fell asleep after the 4th step in one of the techniques. Maybe you can get to the 5th this time before you fall asleep. We've never been a group that says you have to do this, in a workshop it's mandatory. It's always optional. If any of you that have done these and you feel you have a sufficient level of activation when they're being run, you don't have to sit through them. People who have not done them at all, what we do tomorrow will not work in your shields unless you do these at least once. Now, if you've done them off the internet, but never done them in a group, we suggest staying because you didn't get the energetic amplification of the group frequency, which is huge. Each person in a group is like exponential. It builds and builds and builds. So what we get in a group atmosphere, this is why we do these type of workshops, where groups of people help each other learn faster just by being near each other. So if you've done them off the internet, but you've been doing them alone, we suggest staying through and suffering through the exercises. I'll see by this evening, when it gets toward dinner time, how there's a tiredness level I can feel in the group sometimes. You can also count how many people are snoring. Because this is one of the most wonderful things. I watch in amazement. Now, what happens when you snore? Well, obviously you went to sleep. But what happens when you went to sleep? You shifted consciousness. You know, people say, oh, I want to go to a workshop where you get those, those consciousness shifts and stuff. You get to go astral. Well, I hate to tell you, when you're falling asleep and don't remember the rest of it, it's because you're shifted to another level of frequency. Now, the next trick is remembering what you did when you shifted. All right. So if the thing that happens, that the only workshops I've really seen this in are the ones that are using flame body activations. That usually by somewhere between technique 5 and technique 6, you start to hear a little snoring. And it was actually quite loud in Phoenix. It was a riot. And they were real high frequency people. These weren't beginners. They weren't babies. They were people that were in frequency. It creates a consciousness shift. If you can hold that shift, here's a challenge. I'll put this out for you. For those of you who like a challenge. If you can sit through these and stay fully awake for the whole series, it will show you something. You held the shift in the body. That's an accomplishment. That means you're holding more frequency, alive and awake and aware, more flame in the body. You don't have to. You're still getting the activation, but as far as anchoring it and becoming more of yourself, little things like actually being able to stay awake all the way through a meditation. Because see, everybody's so happy. Oh, I can fall asleep during it. Oh, good, that's easy, right? So most people say, yeah, no problem, I'll just go to sleep and I'll wake up when it's done, I got the activation. Yes, you did. But if you want that activation to be amplified, it's worth making a bit of an effort to stay conscious while you're activated, to bring it in faster. It's up to you. So it's a little challenge that those of you who feel confident that I don't really need to even sit through this because I've done it before and I know I'm doing pretty good, why don't you test yourself and see how good. See if you can stay awake through all of them, all the way through. And if you can, then see the difference that the experience had for you. Because there's a bunch of stuff you experienced in the activations that you've done them before but fell asleep, that you actually experienced it, but you have no memory in your 3D, strand 1, 2, and 3, cellular memory, because it happened on D4, so it's in strand 4 and higher. You will have a different experience and more knowledge and frequency. You'll feel it open in you if you stay awake through the exercises. So it's kind of like, make a game of it. There's an interesting concept. I read it someplace where somebody was talking about somebody else in just regular 3D terms. They said the person had the ability to take every problem and make it a challenge, and every challenge and make it a game. That is a very, very good philosophy for the ego to hold, because it takes the charge out of worrying about performance, first of all. It puts the element of fun back, because true masters, people who awaken to true mastery level, they have really funny senses of humor. Sometimes they're like really abstract and out there. Humor is a part of mastery, where you never ever take yourself too seriously. You always take the universe seriously, but nothing ever too seriously. Seriously enough to serve yourself and the universe well, so you can have the type of hologram you'd like to experience and help others to do so. But not so seriously that you sap the joy, the life force right out of yourself, trying to be rigid. There's a flexibility and allowance. So we're learning parts of those as we go along. If there are people that might have a little weakness in the field in the DNA template that you don't know about, and it could be played, and there's any of the, let's say, shadow dancers from that particular collective that think they might be able to borrow your body permanently, they might try. Now, this won't happen to most people. It'll only be if in your karmic imprint that you don't know you have yet, there's a susceptibility, a receiver, that would pick up enough of that frequency that they could actually make a field attachment. If you're running your flame body strong, and you're with a group especially that's running the flame bodies, they can't do that. But we will amplify our fields before we do the Eckasha for that purpose, just to make sure that anybody that doesn't realize they have that genetic weakness, they're protected even if they have it. All right, now eventually you'll be able to go anywhere and not worry about picking up field attachments. Once we get to where we're holding the activations from technique 8 and 13 and 14, and those that will come beyond that, then you're not invincible, but you're pretty darn hard to mess with at that point. Like you could even go visit the Pope. No problem at all. You know, you could sit and have coffee, and you wouldn't have to worry about anything. You talk about old times. No comment. I won't touch that one. Okay. He said to learn to play your divine piano. Because we can look at our shields like a piano, but it's laid out with a circular set of keys. And every time we run a symbol code or a set of tones, we're actually playing the different keys on the piano. And you can play all sorts of songs on your shields, run all sorts of combinations of frequencies that create beautiful melodies in frequency and in consciousness within your body. As we play that piano, we release, for each note releases a part of your consciousness that's stored in those frequencies into your body here. So we're going to learn a little bit more about using what they're calling the scepter flames, which are the flame bodies of the 12 scepters themselves, which come from the Akasha level. And you have a part of you that expresses as a part of each one of those cosmic level of flames. And we're going to begin to call a part of that part of ourselves in. It's a technique where we can play with the 12 by using the name and the tone and opening in the shields through Scepter 12. We can call in the consciousness, the cognition, and the frequency that goes with each of those flames progressively. So there's sets of lessons, of understandings that go with each of the 12 Rishi pillars. And there would be levels. There would be the smaller Vecca level, then the little bit bigger Eka level, then the Akasha level, then the Akasha level. So we're literally taking it from the top and calling in to that part of ourselves that's stationed in those frequencies. We're ready to open now. Take us through this set of piano keys that will allow us to learn, let's say, all of the Scepter 1 knowings. Let us open that within ourselves. Teach us how. So they're going to give us a technique on how to use the scepters to begin the process of not just the frequency opening, but as we haven't had much time to do here. We've been doing the technicals because this is the master's course. We haven't had time to contemplate the translation of the technicals into consciousness form, into basic, what is the moral code that has to do with this, the spiritual translations into concepts. All of this information is stored within the scepters and within the down steps of the rays. We begin to bring in those cognitions, those spiritual cognitions, and they begin to open in us when we open more of the rays, which are connected to the scepters, into our consciousness here. What does that mean? We've been told that if you have 31% or less of the natural divine blueprint left in your shield, and in your heart shield, and in your DNA template, this implies that it's called being Metatronic. It means you are running on a reverse base 8 Metatronic code, and it means your consciousness is technically destined for the fall into the Wisdom matrix, where you would have about, I think it was 2 billion, 20 billion years, I forget, of evolution in that system. But it is a finite evolution that will lead to implosion and fragmentation of consciousness, which means you go back to source in pieces. You never leave source, and you always go home one way or the other. Now that's the path that the indigos are trying not to evolve on. We want to go home whole, thank you, so we can come back in, and that's what mastery is about. Now, we're going to learn more about what those percentages are of how much in your shields, because we don't know right now. We're all walking around, okay, I've got shields, they're the imprint for my DNA template, but what the heck is in there? Most of us can't even tell you what, if we're indigo children or not. We pretty much figure we probably are if we keep coming to these workshops. Because indigo children have enough strand content to where these kind of frequencies that are given in the workshops, even just verbally, can make sense. And most of the people that can't hold the information usually are not indigos. But once in a while, you find a few people that are actually just like regular human, 12-strand coded, but are just like at the high end of that, where they're on an advanced awakening course. So we'll begin the process of understanding there are there's a path of healing that's evolving here, and it's called the path of the Hyalin. We're going to learn a little bit about the Hyalay, first of all, which is what the Iani call us down here. All right? The indigos that are down here are called the Indigo Iani Hyalay humans. We'll learn a little bit about who are the Hyalay and what does Hyalay have to do with compared to Iani. What is a Hyalay Iani? We'll learn about a fall that we had, that a divine experiment of hoping to host us back into wholeness took place, creating a new race line of the Iani that were called the Hyalay. And they evolved successfully, and they came back here to finish the job they set out to do in the first place. So we'll learn a little bit about that, and then about something that's happening right now, which is called the Hyalin. the people on the planet who are doing flame body activation and who can receive any of the frequencies have an evolutionary option. The portions of people that have 31% or less of their templates, what about that 31% that's still the original self that was in there? Does it have to fall? The answer, because of the Treaty of Loving Mercy, because they needed our help and will allow these separation frequencies to come in now, the answer is no. They will not be able to sustain the body through an ascension, but they can host matrix out and be birthed into a new race line that is called the Hyaline race line in their next incarnation. They will be born in the bridge zone. Now, the other ones who have, like most of us, aren't stuck in that. Most of the people who have 31% or less, you find them at Archangel Michael and such workshops. All right? They don't come to our workshops usually. Once in a while they will, because what's left of them is guiding them to the separation. Now, they will not be able to sustain full control over their bodies. The dancer will end up getting control of their bodies, but they can get out before that happens. And this is like the worst case scenario group. So nobody's hopeless is what this allows for, which is good. None of the ones that have any of their original self left. The original self doesn't have to fall. It just matters where you're going to go in your next incarnation and what your body's going to do in the meantime. You know, what's happening to those persons here. Now there's another group that's in the 31 to 51% divine blueprint left range. They have another course. They would incarnate into a higher Hyaline cycle, but they probably will not be able to do gate passage, this time full biological gate passage. There's a big moment of truth with this, because everybody wants to do biological gate passage. I want to fix it all and run, yes! Right now, I don't care if I don't like my body, it's not perfectly what I want, I don't care, I'll take it with me. Most of us would like to do that. Because there's a fear that we've carried for so long, we've identified ourselves as what we see in the mirror. We've over-identified with our physical because we couldn't remember the rest of ourselves. So there's that little, oh, well, I don't have my body. That means it's not real, doesn't it? That means I don't really get to go anywhere. Oh no, I have to die like everybody else, the normal thing. I don't want to die. Well, some of us will have natural death experiences. Like if you never came to one of these workshops, you'd be expecting anyway. So it's like we're not dropping any big mean surprises on you. You've been conditioned for 25,000 years to, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We're just giving you another option. So there's a whole path for those guys that they would also incarnate into Hyaline, but a higher evolutionary cycle, a different time frame in the bridge zone that would be closer to like 2,000 years from now than 10 years from now, or 10 years from when the body died. The others that have 52% or higher have the options of either incarnating into, or, well, the next group would be 52% to 78%. Now, they would be able to eventually clear the templates and activate them enough to do gate passage, but there's not a lot of time left right now, between now and 2012, in order to get that much clearance and activation done. Those groups will try to get to that point, and some of them will be able to go into the final category, which will be able to do gate passage. If they can't, they'll just feel a peace, like, I don't have to work that hard with it. Enough to get me through. Okay, my next incarnation, I know where I'm going. Right? I mean, I'm just going to stop and smell the roses and enjoy myself here, and to whatever your natural lifespan would be. Now, in this group, the next incarnation option, like the next highest one, you can really incarnate lower anytime you want to, but if you want to move upward into ascension, would be not as a Hyaline, but as a Hyalite Iani in the inner Eka system. So you'd be going back and forth. Some of you would actually be born into the bridge zone to become the parents of a Hyaline, the Hyalite parents of a Hyaline soul that was coming in from the ones who had less divine blueprint left, but were able to go back on the Christos path. And then the old troopers, who are the people who are phase locked in the group where you have, it's 78 goes both ways. There's 78% can go either into the group 3 or group 4. Group 4 would be 78 to 100% divine blueprint. That means you have the capacity and enough time to fully activate the entire flame body structure, which means you would be fully capable of biological gate passage. That's going to be a very small group. And at some point, it's going to be very difficult training, and I know that. I don't know what it is, and it's not going to be mental. It's going to be experiential. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I don't want to scare anybody, and that's the path we're on. We're just like, oh yeah, we got this far, we got it through, we'll try for it, I don't care how hard it is. You know, kind of like the postman, you know, the rain, sleet, or snow, you know, we'll do what it takes to get there. These are the gatekeepers crew, where they will be progressively taught, and eventually gate assignments will be given to those who want them, to assist the others in getting through, either biologically for other gatekeeper types, or the ones who have to get through on hosts, you know, into the High-Ling or the High-LA incarnational experiences. They will also be the ones that help to sustain the ARC project here, so a natural separation of the radiant body fields on this planet can take place. They will be the ones who are interested in having jobs as the future progresses toward us and we progress toward it, of being the Templar Masters, which means the ones 144,000, the team of 144,000 that it takes to run the Stargates, to know the knowledge of them, and it's a commission. It's a many thousands of years commission. Not everybody has to take it, right? But those who do, you get the training and a job, an assignment as a gatekeeper person. And there's 144,000 total on the real committed gatekeepers team. And that's like something you have an option to do, but you don't have to do. That won't be for a while that they give that type of information. What the main job of that group that has the advantage of being able to activate fast enough, most of those will be indigos 1 or 2s. That means you won't get, most 12-strand humans won't be a part of that team right now. There's just not enough time to get them where they could even hold, you know, enough of those frequencies. Most of them will incarnate as as the High-LA into the Eka, inner Earth worlds. The main job is to keep things as stable as possible and to show up where your system needs its next codes from the grids, and where the grids need your codes next. Some of you will be guided by your own spirit to traveling to certain areas to have that code exchanged with the planet. You will also be the ones that help to, in whatever ways possible, prepare the other people and help comfort the other people that may be around you on this planet as the drama progresses, because there is still the issue of the Armageddon script that the United Resistance groups wrote in Atlantis and are planning to fulfill at this time. That means there may be, and we're still negotiating with them, like, you really don't need to do this, but they feel they need to do this. We'll talk about why. They're not fighting with us. They're fighting with each other. The United Resistance, Wisdek infiltrated races, are each creating armies through body snatching here. Each side, from the black hole system, is fighting for grid control here before they pull grids in, because it will determine where the grids will fall once they get into the black hole, who will control them there. So they are planning to fight that battle with each other here on our turf. And humans are just stuck in the middle of all this, clueless, you know, being pushed around. So once we become aware that this drama is going to unfold to some degree or another, hopefully to a lesser degree, but if we watch our countries be drawn into, over the next few years, a world war drama, we will understand what is actually going down with it. And we will understand there's nothing you're going to do on the outside to fix it. It doesn't matter who wins. It's not even our work. It doesn't mean you help everybody do draft evasion, get yourself arrested, and get them court-martialed and shot, because that's what they can do even in America in wartime. It doesn't mean getting politically involved at all. It means allowing the political nonsense to do what it must, realizing what it is so you don't get caught up in it, and trying to assist other people to just find their own strength and peace within themselves. Because your answers of what do I do tomorrow, you know, or they're going to drop bombs on my city, what do I do? The answer is different for every one of us. Some of us will be told to stay because we can actually help to buffer. Others of us will be told it's a good time for a vacation permanently. You know, so you don't have the answers for the other people, but you have the ability to find them for yourself. So what we're going to talk about that and about the dramas that are coming. It all comes back to the power comes from your own direct connection to God and to Source, and that's what you've always had. What you just forgot was how to bring it into body here. That's the flame body activations. And by the time we get done with this, we will learn, they're going to give us a specialized technique on how to do something called a Beta Huga scan. The Beta Huga scan has to do with, from the Beta Huga body level, which is the oversoul level, being able to look into your Maharic shield, the part that holds a program for your DNA template, to get a first level reading, which will be enough to tell you percentages. It will also tell you some other things. And you need to be ready to know those other things, or it won't show. If you're not ready and you have any ego resistance to any attachment to it needing to be one way or the other, you'll get a blank read, which is kind of nice. It's like when you're ready, you'll get the information. But what it will also tell you is an affiliation of what soul groups you incarnated out of, where you will find out if you are a self that incarnated directly out of a human or an Eoni, indigo, soul collective, or if in this lifetime you incarnated out of an Odedicon reptilian matrix that was from the Phantom Matrix, which were fallen, but they were trying to get back out. The reptilians aren't bad guys. They just got stuck in the mess, and they ended up falling. Some of them went fully fall, to a full fall, but others are just trying to get out by host now. Some of you will find your Anunnaki. You incarnated out of Anunnaki Matrix. There we go. Out of Anunnaki Matrix. This is where, like, the moment of truth thing comes. You need to have it be okay, whatever you find, or you'll block finding. Once you can get to the point where you don't have to be an indigo child, well, maybe you're an indigo 3. Indigo 3s have 2 souls. One, Orphine, indigo, Eoni soul, which is an angelic human soul, as the kind of like overseer director. The other one is the one that was learning, that accepted a host matrix that was from primarily a Nephilim matrix, which were Weesadeks. They were trying, they weren't fully Metatronic Weesadeks, they still could bioregenerate. You might find you're an indigo 3. That's okay. Right now, indigo 3s are being upgraded to indigo 2s, which means the part of them that's holding the soul from the other side, because their larger soul collectives decided to break the treaties and are going for full Weesadek fall. So it doesn't pull the indigo in with it. The flame body technologies will transform the indigo 3 into an indigo 2. You may find that you are just a very specialized, highly coded hybrid person that has a bit of each and came here on a special mission that has to do with the other side of the hybrid group, and that's why you have to be part of what they are. So there are all sorts of things that you'll be able to teach yourselves with the Beta Huva scan. What we will teach you is the process of running one on yourselves. Now, this process will not work to run it on anyone else. And if anyone comes out of these workshops offering to anyone in our group or any other group, we're doing Beta Huva readings, we'll read your DNA for you, you're not part of our Azurite group. And I'll tell this to people right away. This is for you to personally read your own. This is not for you to go diagnosing other people. It would be a spiritual violation. Now, I was asked in the beginning, before I ever heard of the Beta Huva scan, I was asked to offer readings. Now, I hate doing personal stuff because it's like most people want to talk about their girlfriend and their boyfriend and whether the girlfriend or boyfriend's cheating and should I marry this person or take that job, and it's like there's lots of good psychics you can go to for that stuff, you know. So I was never into wanting to do personal readings, and in the beginning when we first started bringing the books out, we were asked to do personal readings, and they said you'll be taught how to do a certain thing. And right now there is only a certain group of people that we're asking you to be available for, that they need this information now before it's too late. What do you mean it's too late? You'll learn that later. They taught me how to do Beta Huva scans, and we offered them temporarily, you know, on a reading basis. And I would be shown just enough by the person's avatar in their thing to point out what work they needed to do, like right now, that it was really important for them to do. Or if most of them that got sent to me were actually Freemasons associated. They had implants in the DNA that were going to take them under if they weren't identified and then offered a conscious choice. So that's, in that context, I was permitted to give the readings for a short period of time. And then they stopped and they said, there's one other type of reading that's more important now. It's called a Raja Huva scan. We'll learn how to do these on ourselves in the Dance for Joy course. It's another level. It's having to go to the next frequency, and you can't read it unless you can hold the frequency in your own consciousness awake. Awake. Yeah. So the Raja Huva scan gives you a set of 12 codes that belong to your body and your body only. Now I've been giving those for a short period of time. They had me offering that service to others. When I kept saying, there's not enough of me and Az to go around. He can do them too. But there's not enough of us to go around to do that. There's so many people that are involved with this work at this point. We'd be booked from now until our next lifetime just trying to do individual ones. So I said, how can we teach the people how to do these for themselves? And they finally have, they're going to release the specific process to get your own read. It also means you have to learn to trust yourself. I got this, but am I right? Well, I gotta say, we'll ask you guys, am I right? You know, am I right on my read? That's not part of it. Part of it is learning to be able to trust your own level. And if you are unsure, to put it aside and say, okay, that's my level 1 impression. I'll try again in 3 weeks. Get another one, see. And you will start to be able to feel in yourself whether you have a direct hit or whether you can feel levels of distortion. Well, I think I twisted that part, but I got that one right. So we're going to give you the first tool, is how to do a better Hoover scan on yourself. You don't need readings from us with these at this point, and you don't need them from each other, and you don't need to give them to other people. The people who need this information, this is, again, it's a technique that will be put on the website, so anybody that wants to play with it out there, even if they don't come to our workshops, they can play with it. We're giving the techniques for free. It's the real hard stuff that, like, you know, understanding what's so important about all this stuff that takes, like, writing books and lots of work and lots of money at Kinko's and all that kind of thing. That's the stuff we charge for, and we hold the copyright on all of it. But if anybody noticed, we're putting out the flame body and all that stuff for free. People they don't have to pay for it. They don't even have to learn the whole thing. Just, you want to do this, do it. It's being given. The Beta Hoovers will be done that way as well. And as soon as we're able to probably be the Dance for Joy course, you'll also be taught, if you want to, how to do a Raja Hoover scan for yourself. The reason why we're not, it would be a spiritual violation, first of all, to read anybody else, especially if you didn't ask them. But what if they come to you and say, well, you can do this. Can you read mine for me? If you have the technique that you can read your own, they didn't give it to me. They didn't give me how to read my own first. They had me reading other people before I could even read my own. But if you have the how-to yourself, you're doing them a disservice, because you already know how to read your own, which means you have the ability to teach them how to read their own. All right? You're honoring that part of themselves. If I had had the how to read my own when we were giving readings, I would have taught them how to do it themselves. But they taught me the other way around. It was like a special service contract that I really didn't want, but I knew somewhere I'd agreed to. And there was only maybe, I don't think we had more than 200 people between the two types of readings over a 3 or 4 year period. So it wasn't something they say, oh, I'm going to go, make my living now doing Beta Hoover scans, what I mean, $500 a pop, No, it's not meant for that. But you can teach it to anyone who might be interested in listening. It will help each of you. It will help support the Christos in you and your ego's reality, getting to the point where you know it's real, that you have a Christos. Stop looking outside for somebody to answer your questions for you. Once in a while, a little pat on the back, a little encouragement doesn't hurt. But so many of us are trained to have the outside expert tell us whether we're right or wrong. You need to get over that. You need to be free from that. If you're going to be free to be a master of your own energy, your own hologram, and a teacher, if that's what you want to be, or a healer. So we won't be teaching you how to do Beta Hoover scans for other people, and there's a trick to that. It's different. It was the first technology I was taught, is how to do it for other people, without knowing how to do it for myself. Because they were probably just scared to death if I saw it was a machine code. No, they let me do it afterward. So anyway, we'll be getting that that will be like toward the end of the Thursday workshop. So we can have the tool to find out. We won't find out in the first reading either. There's going to be an experimental time, I can feel this. But you will get to the point where you will be able to tell which of those 4 groups of percentages your template phase locked on. And you can take it or leave it, and it might not be what you want to hear. But if you approach it with fearlessness, and you know whatever it is, it's better knowing than not knowing, because at least you know what you need to do with yourself. If right now you don't have the ability or enough time to activate enough to get a whole body through a gate, let that be okay. Nobody says it's going to be fun. That's going to be a hard-working crew that's doing that stuff, especially if Armageddon blows up in their face. It isn't going to be pretty, and it isn't going to be fun, because that's going to be the team that goes into all sorts of weird places where other people get sick from radiation poisoning. But we get sent in because we're supposed to be able to be immune, right? If we can hold our frequency, we would be. We would go in to help other groups. We would be people that would see more death, because we can handle it and we can serve as windows for the ones who are leaving their bodies to host out and up into their host matrices. So it might not be the objective you want to aim for. Or, maybe I want to aim for Team 4, where I'd be a gatekeeper, where I have to watch all sorts of yucky stuff and 3D go down around me. It's 3 might be easier, more relaxing. You will find out anyway the ability to see where you fit with this, and to have a heart-to-heart talk with your own soul over soul and avatar. You'll start to have this, and it's a talk that doesn't happen in words. It happens in direct cognition, where you just feel. You have all these ideas about what you like things to be, right? And then there's part of you that knows it's probably a little different than that whole set of ideas you're trying to manifest as the only way it is. And then there's a part of you that is your avatar self, that does know the way it is and the flexibility of possibility within outcomes. There's a part of you that will talk to you, your own crystal self, will let you know inside why you chose that, but it'll also start to open your whole 1728 plus different selves through time. So you see where each incarnation fit a piece of this bigger mission. And you will start to understand your mission here, what you came here for in the first place, in a way that you will be at peace with what you find in the reading. Where, if you took on a Metatronic imprint and you have less than 31% left, you still have at least something left, which meant you chose a plan of action, that you would get yourself into that, knowing that if it got bad, you'd still be able to get a part of you out. And that part would know lots of stuff, but it would have to re-evolve its template again. So even in the worst case scenario, it isn't hopeless. There's nobody that's going to find, oh my God, I'm falling and there's nothing I can do. Like the commercial, I'm falling and I can't get up. Well, you can get up, but you may have to use a few tricks to do it, like posting out or something. So it's the beginning. There's a freedom that comes in knowing the personal truth. And that's a personal truth nobody can read fully for you. You have to be able to have the communication with your own avatar level. So the Beta scan and the other technologies will help you to begin to find that in yourself. And you don't always have to expect words. We're not doing a channeling class here. We're not teaching you to let the universe speak through your mouth, that kind of thing. No, we're teaching you how to have, ideally, direct cognition with your own avatar level of identity. Where if you get words on it and you can write books about it, great, books are nice. But if it comes through in direct knowing, that's an even higher level of communication. It's beyond the breaking down into words. So that is what we're aiming for with this. All of it is to get you to the point where you can be free from the definitions, the impositions, the twisted belief filters that we've been raised with for so long, so you can effectively move through with an attitude of building joy, whatever is coming our way in the next 10 or 15 years and beyond.
Technique number 1, the Accasha Quick Seal. Begin by slowing your breathing as you imagine or visualize the Accasha Hierophant at the pineal gland in the center of your brain. Visualize the Accasha Hierophant surrounded by a pale blue sphere of light. This blue sphere serves as a buffer for your readiness to accept the frequencies associated with the Accasha. The blue sphere holds the energy for you until your body can handle the energy. If you can handle it, the energy will simply pass through the blue sphere. Now tone the Accasha song softly before you inhale 3 times. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Inhale as if you're going to grab the blue sphere containing the Accasha located at the pineal. And on the exhale, move the Accasha blue sphere all the way down to Earth's core as you again tone the Accasha song. Uma e tre ina e Accasha. Uma e tre ina e Accasha. Uma e tre ina e Accasha. Repeat the Akasha song 3 times more before you inhale. Uma e twe ina e Eckasha. Uma e twe ina e Eckasha. Uma e twe ina e Eckasha. Inhale and draw the Akasha sphere up to your personal Maharic shield, 12 inches below your feet. And exhale, while watching the pale silver blue sphere expand out to a large sphere. Tone the Akasha song 3 times, and watch or imagine as your Maharic shield pops out as a pale silver disc, about 4 feet in diameter, with a light coating of pale blue. Eckasha, uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Now bring your attention to the center of your Maharic shield, 12 inches below your feet, and tone the Akasha song 3 times before inhaling. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Inhale the Akasha up into the heart chakra. And as you exhale, expand the frequencies of the Akasha into the heart chakra as you softly tone the Akasha song 3 times. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. I repeat the Akasha song 3 times again before inhaling. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Now inhale to grab the Akasha, and on the exhale, push the Akasha up into the 14th chakra, 36 inches above your head. Repeat the Akasha song 3 more times again. And imagine as you do that the Akasha is spinning in a clockwise direction within the 14th chakra. As you're doing this, try to feel or sense the energy around you, just a few inches out from your body. Now bring your attention into the location of your Maharic shield, 12 inches below your feet. Take a couple of relaxing breaths and inhale deeply, pulling the pale silver and blue energy up as if you're pulling on your Maharic seal to latch it onto your 14th chakra, 36 inches above your head. As you do this, try to feel the sensations just a few inches from around your body. This procedure gives you a quick seal. Now envision the cord of pale silver Maharic light that would normally come up with your shield and focus on the Earth's core. Inhale and begin drawing energy all the way up the 4-inch diameter cord and into the body. Inhale the frequency up into the heart center and expand it there. Begin to form a pale silver ball of Maharic frequency in the heart center. On each exhale, send your energy down to the Earth's core. Inhale to bring up another load of Maharic frequency, up from the planetary shields. Expand the frequency into your heart center and repeat this several times. Try to feel or sense that your cord grows larger as you do this, expanding from approximately 4 inches, up to 6 inches, up to 8 inches in diameter. As you draw more and more frequency, loading your astral field, the cord will continue to expand until finally it feels like a skin around as well as within your body. Take one further final deep inhale. Expand the Maharic frequency through and around yourself. And just breathe out gently and easily. As you bring your attention now to the pale silver ball that you have created in your heart center. Inhale and move the pale silver ball up to the 14th chakra, 36 inches above your head. As you do, feel for the sheath of Maharic frequency encasing your etheric body close to your skin. This Maharic Christos skin charges and saturates your etheric body. Try to feel the peacefulness and all-knowing nature of this frequency. Now for 3 final breaths. Tone the Accasha song 3 times before inhaling. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Inhale, and on the exhale, expand the Maharic sheath outward around your body as you repeat the tones 3 times again, as the Maharic sheath begins to assume the teardrop shape of the Accasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Repeat the tones 3 times before inhaling once more. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Inhale. And exhale, and as you repeat the tones, this time, see or feel the Accasha teardrop expand out to embrace the 14th chakra, 36 inches above your head, as well as reaching down to the earth core at chakra 13 below your feet. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Accasha. Now again, for the final time, repeat the tones 3 times before the inhale, and on the exhale expand the Akasha and Maharic sheath out into the universe as far as you can, whilst toning the Akasha song for the final time. So, repeat the tones 3 times now before the inhale. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Inhale. And exhale, expanding the Akasha and Maharic sheath out into the universe. As soon as you're ready, repeat the Akasha song 3 times. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Uma e tre ina e Eckasha. Although it's very optional, it's usual that the quick seal is closed with the singing of the Song of Lyra, otherwise known as the Invocation of the Maharata, which appears as technique number 9A on this disc. Maharata kumbai vector sazatanya tu in evukai on iblion by vectai. Maha by vectai un ure on amor. Ista unta isa trajda era. Petate uma ashelumta asia inte doe. Shaddai akuntan akuntan. Shaddai akuntan akuntan. Shaddai akuntan.